Aksharam Nirantaram Bhasate Swayam Likyate Hridaya Kuhara Madhye Kevalam Amatam Yaham Sakshat Atmarupena Bhakti Hridivisha Manasa Swam Chingvata Jata Chalanarotha Atmanishto Deham Jadatmakam Aham Buddharnatasyastyatu Naham Tatprabhavashukti Samai Siddhatma Sadbha Oham Bhavayuta Kuto Varadhiya Drishtatmanishtatmana Soham Spurtitaya Arunachala Shiva Purno Vibhavati Swayam Soham Spurtitaya Arunachala Shiva Purno Vibhavati Swayam. Namo Brahmana. In this, the Tuesday Satsang from Ramanacentre Center for Learning, it has been our practice to meditate on Bhagavan's Upadesham for about 20 minutes and practice self-enquiry for about 20 minutes. And then our President, Dr. Sarada, will address the Satsang, and the Satsang will conclude with the offering of a chanting of Apara Satchit Sukhavari Rashir. We begin by a small selection taken by me in Ulladhu Narpadu commentary. This is in Lakshman Sharmaji's commentary on verse number 24. The reason I have selected this paragraph is to meditate on the root problem identification gifted to the sadhaka community by the Sadguru Ramanacentre. Bhagavan's gift to us is that what appears to us as millions of problems, thousands of problems, hundreds of problems, Bhagavan reduces it to, or takes it to the essence from where the problem arises to one. The verse I am referring to it is Jadaudal Nanennadu Satchittu Udiyadu Udalalawa Nanonrudikkum இடையில் இது சிஜடகிரந்தி பந்தம் ஜீவன் நுட்பமை அகந்தை இச்சமுசாரம் மனம் எண். This samsara itself, if you take the rest of the problems, can be brought under that one name, samsara, which is analyzed into many problems. But that entire samsara, Bhagavan says, arises only after the rising of this Chidjada Granthi. One more cross reference we can have is Bhagavan's teaching in the 18th verse of Upadesha Saram, where Bhagavan says, Gita Acharya says that Manameva Karana, that the sensory world is not a problem, it is the mind that is the problem. But what Bhagavan says, Vrittayastvaham vrittimashritaha vrittayo mano vidyaham mana. That the mind, though made of multiple thoughts, all the other thoughts rise only after the rise of the I thought. They subsist only in the subsistence of the I thought. And the moment the I thought subsides in sleep, all the other thoughts follow suit. So, vidyaham manaha, manas, the root problem defined by Gita Acharya is reduced to or is pinpointed to one thought. That is the Chit Jada Granthi. Jada Udal Nanenadu. There is no, this is Jada Udal. Vigrahendriya Pranadhitama Nahamekasat Tajjadam Yasat. The world or the body, the prana, the manas, the buddhi, the tamas of the deep sleep, the I do not know of deep sleep, none of them have a direct knowledge of their existence. Whereas the ahamvritti has that. So Bhagavan says the raising of this ahamvritti and identifying with the Jadavudal, that is the root of this whole samsara. Now Bhagavan, having defined like that, the commentator takes us through the last two paragraphs in the commentary of that verse, hitting the nail on the head for us. The commentator says, Bhagavan clarifies that. I'll read these two paragraphs through and then probably we can take a look at it before sitting for Atma-Vicharam. Bhagavan clarifies that in general, all ills that beset one as a consequence of nescience, that is non-truth, asatya, non-righteousness, adharma, evil desires, grief, yearning, hell, inconstancy, murder, theft, death, ignorance, and yet others are all but the ego sense. Any of these troubles you feel manifested, that why one country is so anxious to overpower another country. We may feel that there are some natural resources, but then Bhagavan says, no, the problem is much more deeper. The problem is deeper and present within each one of us as this Chit Jada Granthi, the separation from the pre-existing unity of the self. The self has no division. There is only unity in the self. But the ahamvritti, it raises and attaches itself to a particular form and then gets lost in the objects. Therefore, the root problem for it manifesting as a country overpowering another country, one race feeling superior to another race, all this, just to name a few, Bhagavan says, arise with the Chidjada Granthi, or the Chidjada Granthi. So go back to the verse. Why we have to meditate like this is that in the next verse, the commentator is going to say, எழும்பும் அகந்தை எழுமிடத்தை நீரில் விழுந்த பொருள் காண வேண்டி முழுகுதல் போல் கூர்ந்த மதியால் பேச்சு முச்சடக்கி கொண்டுள்ளே ஆழ்ந்து அறிய வேண்டும் அறி. He is going to say that the vairagya required will harmonize the entire mind strength into one uniform current in the search of the source of the I thought in the heart. Now, how to harmonize the mind power? The key is in understanding that there is only one problem. What we understand as multiple problems, there is only one problem according to Bhagavan, and that is the greatest gift we can get, because the mind can now harmonize all its energies into this one problem. That is the Chirjada Granthi. And all the evils that you can think of, that man creates for man, man creates for other animals, man creates for the world, all arise from this deep-rooted problem. This verse does not exhaust the list of them. It limits with what all? It limits with Chirjada Granthi, Bandham, Jeevan, Lutpamai, Ichamasaram, Manam, End. So it lists out only these 5, but all the miseries, from a small misunderstanding at home in a particular relationship to the biggest sorrows inflicted by one whole community on another whole community as genocide, all arise from our feeling separate from each other. We feel separate from each other because we are feeling separate from the unity already present. Since we have separated ourselves from the pre-existing unity, we also feel separate from each other. So all the evils can be now identified with this Chirjada Granthi. This verse does not exhaust the list of them in due consideration of brevity, but the very term samsara or worldly ills comprises them all. That means you can understand all the miseries you can think of, anything. They arise only to this Chirjada Granthi. The Chirjada Granthi takes a form. Somebody was saying the other person is behaving in such a way that there is constant irritation, that in the place where we go, there the other person is in such a behavior. Then we were discussing how that to experience the other person's words as irritation, we should have a sharira. We should have a form. And in that form, that is ahandai pay, that arises only avichara, only due to avichara, only due to non-enquiry. The moment you put enquiry, it will vanish like Mappillai Tholan, who was the uninvited guest in a marriage. That story we all know of. But let's come to the second paragraph. That all the ills, all the miseries, whatever you can think of, is nothing but this Chirjada Granthi. Now come to the positive side. Verse number 13 of Anubandham. Let's go to verse number 13 and quickly read from the Anubandham. That is Dhanam, Tavam, Velvi, Dhammam, Yogam, Bhakti, Vanam, Purul, Shanti, Vaimai, Arul, Mauna Nilai, Sahamal, Savu, Arivu, Sarturavu, Veed, Inbam, இவை அத்தனையும் தேகான்ம பாவம் அறல் தேர். That is charity, austerity, sacrifice, righteousness, unity with God, supreme devotion, heavens or the space of awareness, wealth, veracity, tranquility, grace, quiescence, stillness of mind, deathless death, right knowledge, renunciation, deliverance, and happiness. All these are but the extinction of I am the body sense. So, I am the body sense is the root of all the evils, and the cutting of this is the all the good that you can think of: dhanam, charity; tavam, austerity; velvi, sacrifice; dhammam, righteousness; yogam, union with God; bhakti, supreme devotion; vanam, that is heavens or the space of awareness; porul, that is real wealth; vaimai, that is veracity; vaimai, arul. Arul here is tranquility, grace, and mononile. Mononile is of course the tranquility. They have put stillness of mind. Sahamal sav, deathless death, without waiting for the death of the body, understanding what is real death or identifying with what is the reality of death. Sahamal sav, arivu, that is consciousness or right knowledge. Sar turavu, that is true renunciation. Veed, that is the deliverance. And inbam, that is happiness, true happiness. All these are dehanmabhava maral there. So the verse 13 of Anubandham is read juxtaposed to this verse. That is verse number 24, which says that this Chidjada Granthi is the root problem. The root solution is there in verse number 13 of Anubandham, that the breaking of this Chidjada Granthi is all the good. When verse 13 of Anubandham in supplementary verses is read juxtaposed with this verse or together with this verse, the import becomes clearer. While the ego is all the evil there is, egolessness is the all the good that there is. All that is good and worthy of reverent cultivation belongs to egolessness. This verse catalogs all the good that fructifies on the extermination of the idea, I am the body. That is charity, yajna, austerity, virtuous ways of living, yoga, bhakti, heavens, wealth, peace, grace, silence, release, deathless death, knowledge, holy renunciation, mukti, bliss. All are but snapping of the notion, the body is the self. So that about summarizes the why and the reason for taking the Upadesham of Bhagavan, meditating on it, that Bhagavan's gift to us is that the problems are not multiple. The problem is, but it is deep rooted inside each one of us. It is the Chidjada Granthi. That is, the body does not say I, but Udalalava Nanun Rudiku Idayilidu Chidjada Granthi. Between the pure Chaitanyam, which does not rise or set, and the body which does not have capacity to say I, this ego rises. That is the root of all problems, all evil. The cutting asunder of that is the all the good you can ever think of. Having meditated on this, let us sit in the practice of Atmaucharam for the next 20 minutes. Revatima, you can set the time for us. Thank you. Ramana. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana, sir. Namo Ramana, prostrations Ramana, shining as a self in all beings. By the immense grace of the self manifest as Ramana, in this part of the satsang, we are meditating on the verses of Ramana Gita, which is a compendium in 18 chapters, compiled by Ganapati Muni of the questions asked by various seekers of truth to Bhagavan and Bhagavan's answers to these questions, which the Muni has classified into 18 chapters and given them the requisite headings and the titles. And we are now meditating on the verses of the 18th chapter, which is called Siddha Mahimanu Kirtanam, the glory of the Siddhas. And the Muni, as if to give us a real idea of the glory of the Siddhas, gives us the glory of Bhagavan as a maximum number of verses in this chapter are on the glory of Bhagavan himself, and the last two verses are the question and answer, the question of Yoganatha and Bhagavan's answer to that. So we have 24 verses of praise of Bhagavan as a prelude to this single question and single answer, and we were meditating on the 4th, 5th, 6th verses, and we are on the 6th verse. Mridutamam vachane drishishitalam vikasitam vadane sarasi ruhe manasi shunya mahat shashi sannidhe hridilasantam ananta ivarunam. And then Muni goes on to say, Adayam atmatanav kathinam rate parusha chittamalam vishaya braje rishimarosham apeta manoratham dhridamadam ghanachil lahari vashat. So, in that earlier verse, in the verse 6, the Muni has said, Mridutamam vachane. Bhagavan's words are sweet. Drishi Shitalam. His look is cool. Vikasitam vadane sarasi ruhe. His face is like the full-blown lotus. And manasi shunyam. The mind is non-existent. How? Mahat shashi sannidhe. It is like the moon in the daylight. The mind is like that, he says. In here, the Muni is using a metaphor which Bhagavan himself has used in the earlier chapter of Ramana Gita. Then he says, Hridilasantam ananta ivarunam. He is always shining in the heart like the sun in the sky. Iva arunam, like the sky, like the sun, he is hridilasantam anantam. He is always reveling in the heart, says Muni. Then, because of that, one may say he is unconcerned about his body. Adayam atmatano kathinam vrate. His body, he makes it go through the most rigorous disciplines. Kathinam vrate. Parusha chitta malam vishaya vraje. And he is not at all interested in the vishayas. And he is Rishim apetam Rishimarosham apetam anoratham. And also Bhagavan says there is a variation of this, Rishima Rosha Makama Manoratham. So he has no desires. Or it is not no Rosha, no Manoratha, no desire of his own. And how is he? Dhriti Madam. The Dhrita Madam. The mind is in Mada. It is drunk. It is intoxicated with what? Ghana Chil Lahari Vashat. It is intoxicated with the bliss, with the joy of consciousness, says Muni. So, the Muni here is describing the glorious state of the Jivan Mukta, which we are all striving to achieve. So that it becomes for us an image which we carry as we do our self-enquiry, our sadhana, our nididhyasana, and every moment when any obstacles to our practice come, this image of Bhagavan comes to our rescue. And that Mridutamam Vachane, it is such a beautiful epithet because very often, knowingly or unknowingly, our words tend to be harsh, especially when there is anger. So later on he says, Arosham, he has no sense of anger at all. Bhagavan has no rosha. And there is no desire also. So there is no desire to prove himself right or to prove someone else right or to prove someone else wrong. There is no desire at all. So what happens is that his words are very sweet. When it comes directly from the self, everything is sweet. About Sri Krishna, there is a song called the Madhurashtakam, where Madhuradipater Akilam Madhura. Everything about him is sweet. And about Bhagavan's voice, Mridutamam Vachane, he says the words are sweet. Not only the voice is sweet, the words are sweet. Why are Bhagavan's words sweet? Because they are the ambrosia that take us back to the self. Every word which Bhagavan speaks is nectar which is given to us to meditate upon, to chew and digest, to taste, chew and digest, and get back to the self. Rishi Sheetalam, of course, we are all aware of the beauty of Bhagavan's glance, which is available to us. Even today, Bhagavan is looking at us with that cool glance of his, with that gracious glance of it. If he was not looking, directing that glance on us, what would happen to our lives? So that glance of grace is ever there, that cool glance of grace on us. And he says that Vikasitam Vadane Sarasirve, the beautiful face of Bhagavan, spreading the radiance, the luster of self-abidance. Adayam Manasi Shunya Mahashashi Sannite. The mind is not existent. What does it mean? Bhagavan says, it does not mean the mind is not functional. So he gives the example of the moon in daylight, which means the moon is very much there, the mind is there. Ajnasya Vijnasya cha Vishwamasti. Bhagavan says for the Jnani and the Ajnani, the world exists. So, what happens? How can the world exist and how can the Jnani interact with the world? Only with the mind. But what is the nature of this mind? It is submerged in the self, like the moonlight is submerged in daylight. And Hridila Santam Ananta Ivaruna is ever shining in the heart. And that in this next verse, Muni says, Dhrita Madam Dhanachil Lahari Vasha. It is not just that he is ever abiding in the self. What does it mean? He says he is drunk with that consciousness. He is absolutely intoxicated with that consciousness. Even to listen to that description feels so amazing and beautiful, and one longs to be drunk in that consciousness, in that bliss of the self. And how does it happen? it is both ways. See, one is unconcern for the body, disregard for the body is one part of sadhana. But in self-enquiry, Bhagavan brings this all this into one space, as Nandakumarji was telling us. One stop shop. It is just a one position, one effort that each one of us has to make of asking ourselves, who am I? Then what happens? Everything else becomes meaningless automatically. So the body, whatever the body has to go through, if it is Kathina Vrata also, in that case is gone through without any thoughts. Then he says, in the next verse, he says, Vigata moham alobham abhavanam shamita matsara mutsavinam sada. Moha, lobha, all these moham, abhavanam. Okay. Moham, lobham, abhavanam, matsaram. Okay, none of this is there in Bhagavan. Moha is not there. Moha is delusion. How can there be delusion? And lobha is not there. Greed is not there. Recently, we had the privilege of presenting 2 plays on Bhagavan's life. And the first one was about Hari Shadvarga, or victory over the what are called the 6 enemies. They are Kama, Krodha, Moha, Lobha, Mada and Matsarya. And here Muni is saying Bhagavan is free of all this. But why is he saying Bhagavan is free of all this? How could Bhagavan have any of these qualities? By saying Bhagavan is free of all this, he is reminding us that to be free of all these, if we are also abiding in the self, that is Bhagavan, then automatically we will get freedom from all these qualities. That they are all qualities only. They are all attributes of the ego. So one will be free of all of them. Dr. Ambika Kameshwar had made it the approach to the play a little different by saying that, okay, if we are having kama, if we are having krodha, let us direct that also towards Bhagavan. When we offer our kama to Bhagavan, when we offer our krodha to Bhagavan, when we offer our lobha to Bhagavan, and it becomes his, it becomes a part of him who is free of moha, who is free of lobha, who is free of krodha, rosha, everything. So he transmutes all our weaknesses into himself. There is a poem by Surdas wherein he says, "O Prabhu, don't keep my weaknesses in your mind. Avaguna chittanadharo. Don't keep my avaguna. Don't keep my bad qualities in your mind. Samadarsi Prabhu Namutiharo. Your name is Samadarshi. So you don't keep my weaknesses in mind, O Lord. And how will he keep our weaknesses in mind? See, to know that we have moha, he should experience moha. What he does not have, what is he going to recognize? When he does not have moha, when he does not have lobha, he does not see it in us. When he does not have duality, he does not see us differently. That's what Bhagavan says. Where does the Guru see an other to call himself a Guru? So, that poem Sudha says, whether it is a little stream or a big river, or whether it is, it's a very, very dirty sewerage drain water which is coming in, when it mixes with the Ganga or when it mixes with the Sagara, what does it become? When it mixes with the Ganga, all the waters become Ganga. So, oh Lord, let me mix and become one with you. You accept me as one with you, says Sudha in that poem. Similarly, here the Muni he says, Vigata moham alobham abhavanam shamita matsaram utsavinam sada bhava mahota dadi tarana karmani pratiphalena vidaiva sadotyatam. So what is he, when he has no desire, when he has no moha, what is he, why is he engaged in activity at all? See, he says it is because he is active in helping others to cross the ocean of karma, to cross the ocean of samsara. So that is Bhagavan's task. He is constantly engaged in it without any desire for pratiphala. So the action, what Muni is saying is that the activity mode of a Jivan Mukta, the activity mode of a Jnani is different from the activity mode of one who is in identification or identified the body in this fact that there is no expectation of any return. There is no motivation. There is no need for anything. That is why Bhagavan says in Upadesha Saram, Krityamasti kim. What are they doing? They don't have any need to do anything because he is drunk in the bliss of Atma Sakshatkara. What does he have to do? But he is engaged in activity. We see the great ones engaged in activity. Why are they engaged in activity? It is pure compassion. And Vishwanatha Swami pointed out to my father Sri R. Natarajan, there is a difference between identified compassion and pure compassion. Identified compassion has a motive. It has a goal. It springs from the ego. It thinks there is a subtle thought that I need to help somebody. So there is an identification factor over there. Whereas the one whose compassion flows naturally, as Muruganar Swami says, it is like a tree which gives shade to every comer by nature, not by choice. So Bhagavan is ever active. In that sense, the self is ever active, compassionately drawing us back to itself. And that Bhagavan's activity is to free all of us, the great ones. All of them say. Muruganar Swami says, Darvada Darula Kankanam Poondu Kachayum Madarkena Katti Tiruvannamalai Sirakka Veetrundai. And Satyamangalam Venkatrama Swami, Satyamangalam Venkatramaya, he says, Dvajamittavan Mukti Meikadal Katti Mudari Uttida Dvajamittavan. He has raised his flag. He has raised his flag to take us to the true shore of liberation. And when Muni says this, we can joyously engage in self-enquiry. We can joyously allow activities to happen. We can engage in self-enquiry also without any worry about the goal of self-enquiry itself. Nandakumarji often says, self-enquiry is to be done with a light touch. How can we do it with a light touch? Because Bhagavan is taking care. It is his Varumbadi Solilai Vanden Padiyala Varundidu Untalai Vidhi Arunachala, says Bhagavan. So he is engaged in the task of taking us across. What do we have to do? It is left to us to enjoy the self-enquiry itself. Just to enjoy the practice. And if we are not actually sitting in self-enquiry practice, then whatever activities Bhagavan is engaging us in, whatever life roles he asks us to play, let us enjoy them as well, because all the tasks are taken care of by him, because he is continuously engaged in that, says Muni over here. These verses act as a support for our self-enquiry. they reinforce our faith in Bhagavan and our faith in that extraordinarily beautiful state of steady self-abidance. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Namo. We conclude by chanting Apara Satchit. Apara Satchit Sukhavarirashi Yasyormi Matram Bhuvanam Samastam Guhahitam Tam Ramanam Gabhiram Chintavihinam Hridi Chintayami. Namo Ramana.